I was a little country girl. I graduated to School of Hard Knocks to crime, gang banging.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Starve the Demon Recovery by Any Means Necessary. I'm your host, Jenna, and I'm so happy that you're here. Today, we've got a great show for you. I have Kristy all the way from Canada, and she's got a heck of a story she's going to tell us. So, Kristy, welcome to Starve the Demon.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here and so honored that you chose my little show and my very special, wonderful audience to tell your story to. How did addiction first enter your life? How old were you?
I was 16. I
Okay.
started dabbling with little things that were making me feel better. Asian, just a little bit of extra here and there, but it didn't really kick off until I was 19.
How old are you?
I'm 39.
What kind of environment were you growing up in?
I had a lot of childhood trauma. I had great parents. My parents were middle class, but they had divorced when I was 6. It really started a spiral, I think, of dealing with two separated parents in two different households. My dad was across the country, and I was kind of bounced around. I can't remember a really consistent childhood with two parents. That wasn't my life.
Unfortunately, that's very common. Did you start because like your friends were doing it was the thing to do, or were you trying to numb something you going through that kind of propelled you to start using the drugs?
I was on my own since I was 11 years old. My mom had called the Department of Child and Families on me. I was acting out because I had been assaulted as a child, and I never had anyone to talk to about that. So I was acting out, wanting love, wanting something, and didn't get it. So she was at the end of her rope with me and called the CPS, which placed me in a group home. And from
Oh,
there, I
wow.
graduated to crime, gang banging. I was only a little country girl, so I didn't know these things. And I graduated to kind of the School of Hard Knocks. And that's when I was kind of introduced to drugs. I had kids at a really young age, 15 and 17. But because I was in an abusive relationship, my kids were taken from me. I felt like I had no reason to carry on, and I was trying to numb the fact that I didn't have my kids in my life anymore, and I started using IV opiates.
Wow. So you didn't really have a good relationship with your parents. You had gotten into a bad relationship, and then that trickled down to affecting your relationship with your children. That's so sad. I hear that a lot. Rarely are people in addiction that don't have similar stories. And so I'm so glad that you're talking about this because there are a million other women out there that could tell that same story. Let's show them that, hey, look at her now.
My father was an alcoholic and fisherman, so he was never home. He was away for 7 to 10 days and then would come in for 3. But at that time, he was fighting with alcoholism, so I didn't really have any parental guidance. And that's where the, pregnancies came in. But I was always
Mhm.
dating older men because I wanted a dad, I wanted support, I wanted love, and I was looking for it in the places where the people were taking advantage of my vulnerability. So I ended up 15 with a 25-year-old man.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's was creating that abusive home for me, and it was absolutely horrible, the things that I went through. Every time I think about it, I still have trauma about it, and I still have nightmares, but that's kind of I used to forget about that, and I continued using because I was getting abused in every way, shape, and form, and was using, drugs to try to numb that pain, along with not having my children around.
I was 16 and I married my first husband. He was 22. And I thought I was so grown up, right? I thought, like, oh, because I'm so mature, because we're easily to manipulate at that age. My heart goes out to you. So he was in and out. You had tried to get rid of him, but he kept coming back. And that's how you ended up losing your kids.
Yeah, he actually chased me across the country. I was so young and naive and alone. I didn't have support. I didn't have protection. I was fighting my own battles at that time as a little girl, and he was chasing me. I had battered wife syndrome. I was so stuck in that, when someone tells you you're nothing and you'll never be anything and you'll never go anywhere, and you have that little voice in the back of your head saying, "No, I will, I can, and I'm gonna get out of this," and they keep coming at you, you lose yourself. And he was chasing me down for 7 years. It didn't matter where I went, where I moved. He wasn't concerned about his child. He wasn't concerned about what she needed or where she was or that she was taken. He was only concerned with me. That was scary. So I ran from him for a long time. And I eventually got away, but that was when I was so far into addiction that I didn't even really know who was there and who wasn't.
I get it. And I think a lot of people don't seem to understand, they'll tell somebody in that situation, oh, you should just leave. Well, it's not so easy to just leave because, like you said, they chase you and they chip away at you. They don't start out like that, right? They start out nice and charming and they love you and they're going to take care of you. And don't worry about what you've been to. I'm going to keep you safe. That's probably exactly what he said to you, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then it's not about the kid because it's not love, it's the need to control. It's the your mind and how dare you not be with me. Have you ever heard the Metallica song All in My Hands? That's what it makes me think of. All in my hands, I'll die if I let go. And that's how they feel. There's a reason why that 25-year-old guy is hitting on 15-year-old girls because by the time you're that age, you see him coming and you see through him. And it's only the 15 and 16-year-old girls that are still buying that bullshit. And it's very sad and very unfortunate. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I'm really sorry. So how did you finally get rid of him?
I basically was so deep into addiction that I stopped coming home and I was hanging around with guys that there was a challenge there. Sad as it is to say, I created family through the people that I was hanging around with, and they were people that were a little bit scary, and he could no longer beat on me without repercussions.
They're all big and bad when it's a tiny little woman. But let another man come around.
Yeah.
Oi,
To the people that say, you should have left, keep in mind, I'm a child with no direction. This person is drowning me and then 5 minutes later, taking me in the bedroom and raping me and then telling me this is love. This is what love is. I love you. Don't you love me? You're a child. You're impressionable. You're vulnerable. You're not a strong woman that says, oh, hell no. Like you said,
right.
they wouldn't have anything to do with anybody their own age because, well, the women wouldn't put up with that. They go for those people that are vulnerable. And I mean, he moved on to a girl after me that ended up dying under suspicious circumstances.
Let
I'm
me
just
guess. She was young too, wasn't she?
very young, and she was also an addict. I'm so grateful that I did get out of it. The circumstances in which I did were horrible, of course, because I was still deep in active addiction. I did not have to put up with worrying if it was going to be the day that I was going to die at his hand.
Right.
Then I moved on to worry about if I was going to die in my own hand.
Where were your kids while this was going on?
In the care of CPS, and then we made an agreement to have them go to my dad's girlfriend because she only lived about an hour away from me, and she had been helping me throughout, taking them for breaks and things like that. But she didn't know, nobody really knew what was going on in terms of the difficulty I was having in the relationship. Prior to my kids being taken away, I didn't do any drugs. I want to preface it by saying, like, I did not do a thing. It was after my kids were taken away. They're taken away that I started using. I got involved with the wrong people because I had too much time on my hands.
So you were
So
still able to see them with her, or were you not allowed to see them?
I was able to see them in some instances. It became difficult because I was in active addiction and I do take full accountability for that. But it wasn't a supportive relationship in terms of let's reunite these kids with their mom. It was more of a I have them now. They're my kids.
Wow.
So
And how old were they at the time?
when they went with her, they were 4 and 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they started calling her mom, and like she didn't correct it. There was no support for me.
She would have been happier if you just disappeared.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with your mother like while this was happening? Was she aware that any of this was going on?
My mom's a pretty no nonsense lady. Our relationship was always strained when I was a kid. She had a tough love approach. She would drag me out of situations and she would try to help as much as she could, but she was also older and I held a lot of resentment and we just never had a good relationship when I was a kid, to be frank.
Yeah.
And that was from both of our sides.
What was the catalyst that made you say, I can't do this anymore? Like,
When I was in active addiction, I moved a lot. I lived on the street. I was arrested numerous times. I did a lot of illegal shit, some of which I got caught for and some of which I didn't. I think all of us maybe in addiction have done stuff that we haven't gotten caught for. I'm grateful for that because if I had of, it would have been a lot worse. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was in Nova Scotia at the time and the police dropped me off on my mom's front doorstep and said, either you take her to detox or she's going to jail. And
yeah,
my mom said, pack your bag because they're not coming in my house. Either you go with them or you go to detox. And mind you, I had already tried. I think, Jenna, I think it took me the 20th time before I actually stuck. I was in and out of detoxes because I knew I didn't want to do it anymore. I knew I was doing it for a reason, and I knew that there was something inside me that was severely broken. It wasn't me. And it's funny because I would go to junkies' houses, respect to junkies. That's just I was one. I'm not saying that in a derogatory term, like let's own this. They would be like, girl, you don't belong here. Go back home.
you weren't
They
doing
would
it for fun.
right. It's like they knew even the drug dealers didn't want to sell me drugs. And that's something.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
something. Listen, I've known many a person who had got so bad that their drug dealer was like, "No, man, you need some help."
right.
That's pretty bad when your dealer's like, "Listen, you got to get
Yeah.
out of here." When I was in rehab, I had one of my dealers who hadn't heard from me went to my house to check on me. And talked to my husband. He went to my house, was like, "Is she okay?" Like, because I was such a good customer,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And he was
I
like, "You
know.
can't come around here no more." That's pretty bad. When I went to prison, went to big girl prison for 8.5 years, and I consoled myself with thinking about all the things that I had gotten away with, all the times I
Mm,
hadn't got arrested, hadn't gotten caught, and how much time I could have been looking at if you added up all those little things. I don't know how it is in Canada, but here you can either get state charges or you can get federal. Federal's far, far worse. Federal, you get a lot more time. I had a 10-year sentence followed by a 10-year probation. So basically 20 years of my life, not counting the little county jail here and there. I had to do 85% of my time. So I did 8.5 years. And then I could have got off probation early, but no, I had to keep having drug related probation violations. So
mm,
even though I was doing good, I finally got clean and I started working in treatment. I started doing this. And yeah, the judge was like, no, too little, too late. Said I was doing the bare minimum. But what are you going to do?
yeah, exactly. You don't even get me started on the system here.
No, because you know why? Because I want to know the difference. Like here, down here in America, listen, we either one think USA, USA, we're the greatest at everything, which we're the greatest at a lot of stuff, right?
Mhm.
But we're probably not the greatest at everything. But then you got this other group of people down here that will just tell you, oh, America sucks. Da, da, da. No, it doesn't suck. We're pretty great. Pretty great. I'm not going to mention hockey because I want you and I to still be friends. If you had gotten
Mhm.
a 10-year sentence, would you have done 10 years up there? Is there a difference between like your provinces and the Canadian government itself?
Yeah, I'll be completely honest, our system is extremely messed up. I I actually work in a field with ladies and the homelessness population and addictions and domestic violence. Someone that's a first-time offender that fought back in a violent relationship will get an ankle monitor in 3 years, and someone that did something way worse that, involves children, I'll leave it to your imagination, will get, released on a recognizance or,
Mm.
to run around and then get a suspended sentence and go to jail a month, a year and a half later, and then maybe get a year. It's insane. It really is. Definitely, you don't get 10 years for 10 years. It's a tough system, and I'm a true believer in harm reduction. I don't feel that if someone does something as a first-time offender, locking them up is necessarily the right thing to do. Look at the root of the problem and figure out, okay, if someone stole baby formula, locking them up in jail is not going to stop the problem. Figure out
Right,
how you
right.
can give them resources for services to get jobs because there's always a root of a problem for everything. Let's get to the root of the problem and fix the issue
I
for
agree.
good instead of keep going.
Right, you can't put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, and I think that's a lot of times what happens. I absolutely agree. I've said it a million times that drugs and alcohol are not the problem. They're the wrong solution.
Mm.
I worked 12 steps, and that's how I figured out where my trauma, drama, and chaos was and how to face it and get rid of it and walk away from it and live in this new, happy, joyous, and free life without falling prey to the psychic vampires out there and not being a slave to this addiction demon and being able to help other people and be of service and say, what can I do to help the next guy? So, yay. See, we need more people like you in this army. Yeah.
Yeah, and after 16 years in recovery, sometimes I'll be looking at myself like I am right now, and it's like I don't recognize who's looking back at me because 16 years goes by so fast,
Sure.
and you remember bits and pieces, and you're like, "Shit, that was really fucking tough," and it continues to still be tough, but it doesn't feel like 15 years.
Right.
Our time keeps moving forward and I keep staying clean, but some days I'm like, how am I doing this? You have to keep working at it over and over.
So how did you do it?
I went to detox and I met amazing women there that I still talk to this day who had faith in me. That was what I needed. I needed someone to have faith in me and tell me that you can do it. Not that you'll never amount to anything. I was always a black sheep in the family. So
Mhm.
when they see me coming, they're like, here comes Kristy, here comes trouble. And, someone actually had faith in me. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to keep going. And I just went day by day. There's a song called One Day at a Time. And it's an old song from back in the day. And my mom and I used to listen to that all the time. That's what would get me through, and there was days, oh my god, there was days. I'm like, "Why?" Because meanwhile, I'm clean, but I'm still not having access to my kids, right? It doesn't all come
Mhm.
back. Like a lot of times people just give up because it doesn't all come back, but the guilt, the shame, the resentment, my kids, being angry and wondering what the answers to these questions were and they were young at the time. So, all that stuff floods in and you have no tools to deal with that. You're just like trying to get through it every day. And that's what I went through. Not someone that believes in God or is a really big believer in that, but I do believe that there's someone somewhere, whether that be our belief in ourself, our higher power. But I think if there wasn't something somewhere, I would not be here today. So I
Fair enough.
started going to NA and I made a lot of connections in the fellowship, which brought me to my youngest daughter's father. That didn't work out, but I met him there and we were working our program together and I ended up getting pregnant 6 months into recovery.
Ah.
But my daughter saved my life because she gave me that renewed purpose that I had lost when I lost my other kids.
Because you
So
still didn't have them back in your life at that point.
it was always, we'll try next year. do this and we'll try next year. And it was always like jump through these hoops and run through these things. The story that was continuously told to my kids was that I gave them up for drugs.
Oh,
Told
that's awful.
stories. They were being told stories that weren't true. And even still to this day, there's a huge fracture in my dad's relationship. We never talk. I think I talked to him maybe once a year, twice a year. And it's because of that. I've been in recovery for 16 years. There's such a huge fracture because of the hurt and their refusal to believe in me and just constantly perpetuating this negative image of me to my kids.
Did they ever come back to you? Or are they still with them?
My youngest daughter's 15, my middle daughter is 22, and my oldest is 24 now. They eventually got to the point where they wanted to be with me, and
Hey,
I got a call one day saying, come pick up one of your daughters because she's, acting out and doing things, kind of following in my footsteps. And I said, why didn't you call me earlier? I hadn't talked to them for
right.
years, and then all of a sudden it was like, come get your child right now. And I said,
And you're like, yeah.
every single relationship that I have with my kids is so different. The relationship I have with my youngest daughter is so different because I raised her. She never seen me in active addiction. She never had to deal with that. And then the other two, they have a lot of trauma that we're dealing with because of my choices. And
Right.
I accept that and take full accountability. So anytime they need to talk about it, we talk about it. Anytime they need to be mad at someone, I accept that,
Yeah.
because it's my fault, and we just try to work through it day by day, but it's a struggle. Addiction fractures your friendships, your relationships, your family.
It
It's
does.
tough.
It does. And like you said, even when you can repair that relationship, it's not quite the same as it could have been or would have been. But that's okay because it could still be great. You and they are still very young and y'all can have a lifetime of great. You could be a great grandma and a great great grandma. And that's would be my hope and my prayer is that, you can embrace that it's not what it could have been, but what it is great, and it can continue to be great down the road. I might have babbled that out, but I think you get what I mean.
Yeah, I have two grandchildren. One is four from the middle daughter, and the other one is 5 months old from the oldest. And so I'm a nan. I'm a grandma now. My oldest daughter and I, we're only 15 years in the difference. We're both millennials, so we're very close in age,
Yeah.
um, which is super cool. I mean, it like fast forward now, it's amazing because we're buddies, we're best friends. But when she had her child, she looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, Mom, I can't imagine you doing this at 15." We slowly
Right?
started realizing, damn, no wonder you were so messed up. You had no support, no family. I'm here trying to do this at 24 and I'm barely making it. And you had two kids at 17. I understand why you put us where you put us because you wanted us to have a better life. There was a lot of resentment, of course, because I resented my mom and they
Sure.
resented me. And we only do what we know or what we're
Right.
taught.
It's
And
generational curses.
right. And so she slowly started understanding, they both did, that it was tough, like all the stuff that I had to do, um, and all the stuff I went through, they just kind of admired my strength more than anything. And we're slowly, there are days and there are questions and there are times, and I understand that there's going to be a rocky road. It's not going
Yeah.
to be simple because what takes 2 minutes to do takes years to undo. I understand that. I think it took me a little while to figure that out, that I had to say I was the problem and I made the mistake. I chose to do drugs. I had the problem. I'm the one who has to deal with it. I can't blame it on anyone else. Yes, I had childhood trauma, but I still did the drugs, and I still decided to not visit my kids when I probably could have. I'm making up for that now, that's for sure.
But I can totally relate to that. My first husband was a psycho, and my
Mhm.
son, we both went to prison when he was only 14. And he went through high school and college with me being in prison, and our relationship has never been the same. He's in his 30s now. As his mother, all I want is for him to be happy. Right. And I had to come to that realization that, just we tell people you got to cut the toxic people out of your life. Well, I was the toxic person
Mhm.
in his life. And regardless of what my ex husband did, regardless of what anybody else said or did, I made choices that put me in situations and put him in situations. And there are times where my current husband, not my starter husband, my forever husband, where he will get upset because he will see how pained I am over the situation. And I'm like, nope, we don't get to be angry at him because nobody knows the trauma that that child went through. He's a grown man now, but he's that little boy. There's no fixing that. And until he is ready to move forward, and that day may never come. And I had to come to that realization. It's not through recovery, but I'm able to say, okay, you know what? I can't change this. So I can accept it and I can love him. But now he's at an age where I'm not going to impose myself on him. My door's open and he's got my number. And the last couple of times I've tried to call him, he hasn't answered the phone. He's going through what he's going through. And I can't make it better. I can't fix it, and I just hope and pray that someday he will let me back in. The relationship we had when he was a boy was awesome. And I realize I'm not ever gonna have that with him again, you know. But I don't give up hope, you know. Um, I don't give up
Yeah,
hope. And it may be a case where it won't be until he gets married and has children and someday his wife as a mom will tell him, "Hey, you need to be nice to your mom." You know,
mhm,
that's the day I wait for. Anyway, enough about me. You've now reconnected with your children. You don't really talk to your dad. How are you and your mom get along though now?
it's great. Resented her for a long time for the decisions that she made, and it took a long time for her to say, "You know what? That probably wasn't the right thing to do." But at the same time, again, you only know what you're taught, and in a generation that she was brought up in, there was no hugs, no "I love yous," no "let's talk about it." Wasn't a loving, caring home that she grew up in, and her father was an alcoholic. So I look at, okay, she was dealing with a child that had needs that were beyond control, beyond her know-how, and she did what she thought would be good at the time, which was exactly what I did. So how can I be mad at her? And my mom has been my biggest cheerleader throughout this. She always tells me that I am strong. I got my strength from her. I'm determined as shit. I never give up. I get that from her. She is tough as nails, my mom. And I just look at the things that she has given me, and I'm so grateful for the fact that she taught me to be smart, street smart, figure it out if you don't know the answer. It's been great kind of rebuilding our relationship. And now that I'm almost 40, we have a lot more to talk about and we have a lot more in common. And when you let go of that resentment and you let go of that anger, it really is freeing for yourself, not the other person. It's a great relationship with my mom.
That is awesome. So, with your youngest daughter, do you have any kind of relationship with her father? Does she have a relationship with her father?
Yeah, we both had a lot of trauma that we were dealing with. It was the wrong thing to meet someone in NA going through recovery. And if I had to do it over again, I probably would have made a different choice. We had a lot of problems. We separated when my daughter was just a toddler, and there was a lot of hurtful, spiteful behavior between him and I, and
Mm,
put her in the middle. I tried everything I could in that moment to not do that, but again, there was a lot of um, coercive trauma. There was a lot of calling, CPS to try to get me in trouble, try to take my daughter from me, and of course
What a
that
nightmare.
immediate. Yeah, it's been a nightmare. Over the past, my daughter got to the age where she decided that she wanted to live with me full time, so it's been absolutely amazing now, but we had 50-50 custody. And when you cannot communicate as parents in the best interest of your child, it makes it extremely difficult to co-parent, right? It was not a good ride. I feel bad about the fact that I couldn't change that situation for my child. But we're open. I'm trying to change that generational curse,
Yeah.
where, we're talking about it, we're hugging it out, we're talking about our feelings and getting help when we need to, and that's been going really well. But she definitely has some problems from that, and work through it.
I wish you both the best with that. And I know you're not a big God person, but I am, and I will pray for all of you. I know that you work with a nonprofit that helps people. So that's amazing. And that's good for the soul. And that's great service work and putting joy into the universe. So, yay for that. What else have you got going on? What's coming up in your near future?
I'm trying to do a lot more work in the community in terms of public speaking events and things like that to focus on harm reduction and recovery and building on my social media to help spread that message of hope and inspiration to people that need it. So I'm meeting with designers, starting a clothing line that focuses on female empowerment and kind of saying
That's
fuck you to the
wonderful.
hierarchy. Yeah, you know what? It's to anything that ever hurt us, basically getting the opportunity to turn around and say, fuck you. This is what you made me, and I hope you like it because it's amazing. So that's what I'm focused on. I've always had that little spark in me. I'll continue to try to put that positivity out and try to flip my script around because I had enough of the bullshit. I had enough of the trauma and everything else that I went through as a kid, and I'm turning that shit around.
Speaking of inspiring, do you have a certain motto that you live by? I love a good cliche.
Jenna, it's so funny that you said that. My life is full of cliches. And correct me if I'm wrong, addicts live by cliches.
If it
Yes.
wasn't true, it wouldn't be a cliche.
Right. Right.
Yes. So
Um,
what's your favorite?
my favorite is one day at a time, and you only keep what you have by giving it away because
Mhm.
that's really is true. You see the people that are rich in life and they're always helping other people, and you see people have money, but they're not ever giving it to anyone to help them. And usually they're not very happy. Money is not everything. You need things to feed your soul. And I think that living one day at a time and focusing on how you can heal yourself by helping other people is the way to go. It really is. I live through healing out loud every day and sharing content and sharing my story. I don't want to say I'm a success story because I'm definitely a work in progress. It's a daily, and nothing is perfect. I really do care about other people. I care about the community of vulnerability that's struggling, and it's never about the money for me.
If you could give a message to that woman that's out there going through what you went through, that's stuck in it and feels like there's just no way out, what would you say to her?
Don't ever give up because you never ever know when the miracle is around the corner, and it will come.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience?
If anyone is watching this and they are in recovery or newly in recovery or have been in recovery for a long time, we see you and you're doing an amazing job and keep trying because it is worth it in the end to wake up every day and be grateful for the day instead of looking for a next fix. There's something so beautiful about life when you get to see it for what it truly is. And it's amazing when you don't have to focus on addiction and you can focus on recovery and growth.
I agree. Oh,
One thing that nobody really talks about is survivor's guilt.
mm,
Um, when you work in a community where you see people struggling every day And some of these people come in and you recognize them. They don't recognize you, but they are still in active addiction and you just feel so horrible for them and you want to change their life. You want to take them and say, okay, follow this path, follow my path, and you'll be okay. But you can't save them all. And I think that's the tough part of what I do when I come home every day and I make sure that I take care of myself. I do a lot of self care. And I need someone to talk to because of the things that I deal with on a daily basis. The partner that I have now, this is where I believe that there is something out there because I met this person 12 years ago and they came into my life and accepted my past, my trauma, everything that I went through, they accepted. And did everything, all the things that we do as humans when we're damaged or broken to try to push him away, and he just would not leave. This guy was just not going anywhere. And he'll say, did you have a bad day, babe? Is it one of those days? Is it a tough day? He'll just hold me for 5 minutes and not say a word because he knows that I have to do this. I have to do that job and I have
Right.
to help other people. He never questions me. He just holds me. I think I went through all the things I went through in my past to meet this person. And I really appreciate him a lot. Things start coming together and you're like, oh shit, this is a good thing for me. This is what love really is.
You don't get a trophy husband, you get a lifetime achievement award.
I'm in a place in my life right now that I would not trade for the world, even, the ups and the downs. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And it's all because I actively said, I can't do this anymore and started working on myself and changing my life and continually working on it, not just sitting stagnant and just breathing, but
Right.
like, how can I make myself better? What can I do today to elevate my game and be a better person? I'll keep doing it. It seems to be working. It brought me to you.
Yeah, it's been so great to talk with you. So appreciate you. I think you're great. And I just hope the best for you and your daughters. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm just so happy to have this show today. I'm so happy that Kristy joined us all the way from Canada. And for everybody out there, please like the channel, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends. Visit my website, starvethedemon.com. You can buy me a coffee or buy a t-shirt, and you can see all my socials. You're going to have Kristy's links in the descriptions of this video. Also will be available on my website. Just love everybody and let God sort them out. Keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming back. Bye.
Bye, Jenna.